looking at the geometry started from Euclid. Relying on common experience, Euclid created an abstract world using axiomatic approach as a collection of points and studied certain objects like lines, planes, etc. So what I mean by common experience is Euclid never tried to define certain things like points or etc. because that you should get by experience. And in mathematics studies, how you get experience, the current way or in the current situation, the only way to get more experience is to read good books written by great mathematicians. Okay? So relying on the common experience, Euclid created the abstract world using axiomatic approach. What is this axiomatic approach? He has 5 axioms, in fact. He was depending, see, the objects like point, line, etc. he will not define, and he used the 5 axioms. I'm not going to explain those things because that will take into another domain, Euclidean and non-Euclidean geometry kind of things. But this axioms are, or I can say this axiomatic approach is like playing chess. If all of you know how to play chess, then it will be very clear because you have just a board, 64 columns and some coins, 32 coins are there. And each coin is given a particular type of movement. You cannot question that. Like axioms are the truths that you cannot question. There is no proof. You have to accept it like a universal truth. So the coins are given, the motions of the coins are already well defined. You cannot change it. If you change that, it will be some other play. It is not chess. Okay. So like that, there are some coins or points. There are some terms, points, lines, etc. Then there are 5 axioms are there. Using these 5 axioms, he has proved 465 propositions. The first 28 proposition, he has not used the 5th axiom, that is parallel postulate. Given a line and a point not on the line, then the same plane, you can get one and only one line through that point P parallel to the given line L. So in this, suppose you are going with a line L and a point P not on that line, then there is one and only one line passing through P in the same line plane where the line and point lie, which is parallel to this. That is 5th axiom. So he was trying to prove this 5th axiom using the other 4. So many tried, almost 2000 years. Then they came out with, you cannot prove it, but you can replace it with, suppose you negate the statement, then there are 2 statements comes. What it says that there exists one and only one line passing through P parallel to L. So negating that means one negation is there are no lines passing through P parallel to L, or there are at least 2 lines passing through P parallel to L. These 2 different geometries are there, hyperbolic and elliptic. Okay, so like that the non-Euclidean geometry has come. So Euclid has started this kind of he has put this world into an abstract world using axiomatic approach with collection of points as collection of points. So this kind of abstraction started from there. Then the next, or if you look at in Euclid geometry, there is a limitation. The maximum that you can look at are something like you can study up to cones. You have seen parabola, hyperbola kind of thing, or maybe quadrics. Quadrics means you have hyperboloid or paraboloid or hyperboloid or ellipsoid. All such kind of objects also maybe one can study using Euclidean approach, axiomatic approach. More than that, you cannot do anything. So then the major change or the major breakthrough in geometry is René Descartes' coordinatization, bringing the coordinates into picture, so that algebraic approach also has come into picture. So that is the breakthrough somewhere around 1640 or something. Okay, then the idea of The space itself has changed. The space, what we said is the space is nothing but the place in which all activities are happening, all objects are sitting, all those things. So including the objects, everything we were trying to look at using geometry. Now, after this thing also has changed to configuration set or configuration space. Configuration space. What do you mean by configuration space? Suppose a phenomena is happening. Then to describe the state of that phenomena, all possible state of that phenomena, that is called configuration space. For a phenomena, all states you represent as a set. That set is called configuration space. Suppose a point is moving in the space. You look at all those points, collection of all those points, that is a configuration space. In fact, in physics, this is called phase space. Or state space. That is nothing but suppose they have a system, something like, as I said, in space, a particle is moving. Then position is there. Position vector will have 3 coordinates, x1, x2, x3. Then velocity is there, v. Time is there. So that entire system, in that entire system, each thing they can represent by a point in an higher dimensional space. That is called phase space or state space in physics. So this configuration space includes this also. So when geometry started or mathematics started looking at objects as abstract things, they wanted to study this kind of spaces. Then the concept of space has come into configuration space, including the phase space of physics. See, all these things, if you look at in mathematics, you have starting with set, then you put some structure there, a group is there, or a vector space is there. These are all a kind in different occasions, different situations, different phenomena. These are all phase spaces. So you look at, suppose you collect the temperature in different time in a day. That set of temperature, that is a set. There you can give lot of structure so that you can study. Suppose I define some, suppose I look at the day, some different dates, and in that I define a function as temperature function. I can look at when maximum is coming, minimum is coming, provided this set has some structure. When you wanted to look at a function and look at the rate of change, the set must have a metric. So you need a metric space there. Or in certain cases, you need group structure or vector space structure, etc. These are all coming as phase space, etc. So the mathematics, in fact, trying to model all these things. You abstract all these things and study the properties. Therefore, starting from Euclid time, this process has been happening, and the space we have now moved to configuration space, including the phase space, and people started to look at that configuration set or configuration space with so many structures. Topology is one of them. Topology is, in fact, a version of geometry. What is its speciality means, and this also will study all spaces, different set of spaces. Topology also will study. In fact, it has to do with spatial spaces like curves, surfaces. When I say surfaces, it is of all dimensions. Suppose I look at R2 plane, or suppose I look at the space R3 in which we are living. Suppose I look at R3, and if I look at some object here, or if I look at a cylinder here, or if I look at an XY plane in R3, that is a two-dimensional object sitting in R3. So it is a hypersurface surface in R3. Like that, you can look at n-dimensional object. So when I say surfaces, it is of any dimension. Therefore, it includes all spaces also. From physics, the space in which they are working, or all objects that you are interested to look at. Suppose you wanted to look, you wanted to construct something like a tomb or something. All these things will come under this. because these are all surfaces of some dimension. Sitting in, you can place it in a higher dimension, but topology never looks at how it is sitting. Suppose in topology you wanted to study a sphere, or a circle, you will not put it in R2 and see how it is sitting there or in topology. Topology, irrespective of how it is embedded in a higher dimension space or how it is sitting in a higher dimension space, topology is not at all bothered about such a thing. Embedding of a surface in a higher dimension space is not in the purview of topology is not at all looking at that. So topology is a kind of geometry. It is studying these kind of curved surfaces. Surfaces, I mean any dimension, that means any kind of objects that you look around, or even universe, or physics people, if they wanted to look at space type, that configuration space, all these things you can study using topology. But what topology studies, how it looks at it. See, suppose you are in Euclidean geometry. You are in Euclidean geometry, then there you can move around some object. For example, suppose you have some object sitting in R2, you can just turn it around, or you can translate it, or flip it over another one and see whether these two are congruent, etc. All those things you can do it in geometry. But geometry never allows you to stretch it. Suppose I have something like this, it will as it is. I cannot stretch it like this, then geometry will change. So geometry, usual geometry never allows you to stretch or bend things. That is the difference. But in topology, you can stretch it, bend, but not break. That means you can do all continuous process, stretching or bending, etc., continuous process, such that continuously you can go back to the original position. Suppose I have a piece like this, I can bend it like this, or I can bend it like this, then I can flatten it. From here I can flatten it back like this, like this. So topology allows you continuous process which can be traced back using continuous process. Therefore, you can stretch something, bend something, but you cannot break. Okay, so it allows all continuous process which can be reversed continuously. For example, suppose you have a circle. Suppose you have a circle. Okay, what I will do is I will catch hold of 4 points, then slightly I will stretch it to make some corners. So this is a continuous process. Only what I'm doing is I'm slightly stretching it and making some corners like this. Then slowly I will flatten this side, flatten this side, flatten this side. I can make a square. Or what I can do is I'll take something here, I will make corners there. Slowly I will stretch it so that I will get a triangle. So in topology, all these things are equivalent. Circle, square, triangle, all these things. But geometry, in usual geometry, that is not the case. So that is what in topology you can have a continuous change which can be continuously traced back or undone. Whatever continuous change that you are making, you can undo it with a continuous process. And one interesting thing that you can observe here is, suppose I look at the initial condition, look at a point P here, and if I look at what are all points near to P, at the end also, wherever P has gone, somewhere here it has gone, all nearby points will be nearby to that P only. So nearby points are intact. So topology is looking at something like closeness. Suppose you are there who are all very close to you, and if you ask me this property of topology, the closeness of a points, nowadays very well used in data analysis. Where suppose they have a huge data is there, they wanted to study some huge data. So what they will look at is this kind of clusterings they will look at. They may choose some vertices there, then they put some graph there. So many things they are doing, and they make it as, see, for them, graph theoretic approach or geometric approach, everything is fine. Both gives good results. So I was really surprised by these people, how they look at these things. One is an extremely continuous process, the other one is a discrete process, but for them it is a very strong tool for analyzing data. So there, as I said, suppose in all these stretching or deforming, I can say it is a deformation of this circle to a square. In this deformation, points nearby are not disturbed. A point from here will not go to somewhere here. It will be near to P itself only. So that is one important thing that you have to notice in this kind of operations, continuous operations. So topology is the mathematical study of properties that are preserved by stretching, twisting. It should be all kinds of deformations. It should be continuous, and you can undo it in a continuous process also. So what are all properties of an object which is invariant under this kind of process? That is what is topology is looking at. So if you have an object, you can deform it in any form. Continuously you go for that, so that you can trace back continuously also. Such kind of actions, whether it is a stretching or a bending, whatever it is, those things, the properties which are invariant under those kind of transformations are topological properties. So topology is looking at those such properties of objects. So if in image tracing, image processing, suppose some satellite data, or suppose your forefather, some picture has got, but some portion is missing in this picture. Some portion is missing in this picture. How to trace it back? So in all these kind of things, this kind of geometry is used, because there you are looking at the top. Suppose even in data analysis also, suppose what they are looking at is when they wanted to give a topology, suppose face of a person, suppose they wanted to give a topology to that, some point near the nose and some point near the ears, they will not put together in a single open set, because they wanted to have points nearby to that. So if you are given with a set x equal to ABCD, ask you to make topologies, you will make so many topologies. For what? What is the use? How it is different? You will not be able to visualize that exactly. But if you give it to a data analyst fellow, he will say that, suppose I have some data here, some data here, I will make open sets in such a way that these two will be in different open sets. So he look at the property that he wanted to study there, accordingly he will make the topology. So topology has this property where the points, the closeness is maintained in all this stretching, all these deformations. So that is one property invariant under this kind of transformations. That is what is topology study. And in fact, these properties are called topological properties. It is a general statement. I haven't given it specifically what are all such properties. One property is closeness of points. That, of course, there are some such properties. That is what topology is looking at. In topology, if you look at a circle is equivalent to this. If you look at a sphere, it is equivalent to an ellipsoid. So you have to look at that and see what is a common property there. Such property is called topological properties. Okay. And topology is in fact a qualitative study, not a quantitative. In quantitative study, in topology, we never ask how big it is. In geometry, we will ask what is the area of that, how big it is, what is the volume. Topology, we never ask how big it is. In topology, what we will ask is whether this has a hole. As I said, these people looking at the image or the data, whatever there, some missing portion they consider that as a hole. So they look at whether in this data after making the topology space, how many holes are there. That is a question. See, suppose this set in whatever way you deform, this hole will remain as it is. So holes are one invariant. What are the other things that you can think about? Anyway, it will not ask about how big it is. They will look at whether it has got holes. Another thing that it will look at is, can I separate it, make it into different parts, or is it connected? Suppose I have something like this and something like this. As I said, looking at, is it connected or can I separate it? That is another question topologists used to ask, connectedness. So these kind of properties are studied under the topology. And as I was telling, in topology, these objects of study, we will not put it in a higher dimension, and we are not bothered about how this object is sitting in R2 or R3, how it is embedded. In mathematical language, it is embedded. See, such type of terms only sometimes make us frightened. No? But what actually it means is that anyway, to study something, you have to place it in a higher dimension. By standing in this room, I cannot understand what is the size, how this room looks like. Suppose I go out and see this, I can get an idea how big it is or how it looks like. So there are certain occasions you have to place it in higher dimension, especially in geometry, differential geometry, etc. They try that, but topology never does that. That is why for topologists, suppose you give a circle, and if you take one point from that, what they will say, you will get a line segment. Topologists will say that, okay, by removing one point from a circle, you will get a line segment. Are you able to see that? It is better sometime at least I get some sound from the other side. What I was trying to convey is that suppose I remove this point, topologists will say that after removing this point, I'm getting a line segment. Are you able to see that?
Yes, sir.
Because after removing it, I can stretch it. So I can put it like this. Slowly I can stretch it. Then I will get a line segment. But geometric fellow will never, the differential geometry or any other geometry, they will not say that. Okay, that is the difference. So it won't look at how it is embedded in a surface, how it is sitting in a surface, sitting in a high dimensional space. That is another speciality of topology. So topology studies those properties which are invariant under deformations, stretching, all kinds of transformations. Then it also not worried about how it is, how your object is embedded in a high dimensional space. Okay. See, in topology, the objects are formally defined as topological spaces. So we consider this set together with something called open sets. In fact, for me, open set means it tells you how close the points are, the closeness of the points. That is what it tells. So collection of such sets, open sets, we call open sets. That makes this called topology. So the basic object in topology is topological spaces. See, if you might have heard general topology or point set topology. Okay, what exactly it is? General topology is, in fact, a general topology is not considered as a branch of topology. That doesn't mean that it is not topology. It is, in fact, a basic level of topology. General topology, where you have a set, give some topological structure there, study the compactness, connectedness, all such things. Okay, is that giving you any confusion? General topology is that. In fact, general topology is not a branch of topology. It is the basic level of topology. So in fact, topology, if you look at topology, I'm talking it in a broad sense. There is a misconception even I was having when I was studying topology. There is a topology book by famous so and so. Then so many people they will introduce. Then I went for MPhil study. So I was thinking this topology means take a set, look at the closeness of points, define the open sets. That is something topology means, but that is only a basic level of topology. In fact, this topology has got three branches. One is algebraic topology. Another is differential topology. Another one is low dimensional topology. So general topology is a basic level of this. Because in all these things you are taking, in all these things you are considering topology space and study the properties which are invariant under deformations. That properties you are studying using different tools. Depending upon the tools, this you can call it as algebraic topology or differential topology, etc. And this low dimensional topology means studying objects of dimension 4 or less. That is low dimensional topology. So general topology is in fact a basic tool in, or I'll not say tool, it is a basic level in topology. General topology or point set topology. Some people also call, I don't know, set theoretic topology or something. Anyway, this point set topology is that. General topology or point set topology. Also, you might have heard of combinatorial topology. Combinatorial topology. See, this combinatorial topology is an earlier version of algebraic topology. See, what they were trying here is, they were trying to look at certain geometric figures using basic or smaller figures like triangle, etc. Triangulation of a given figure and then study that using some techniques. That is what combinatorial topology, which comes under algebraic topology. In fact, I can say that combinatorial topology is the earlier version of algebraic topology. What is algebraic topology, in fact? Algebraic topology is attaching some algebraic objects to the topological space to study the topological properties. Okay, you attach some groups. So algebraic topology, in fact, some algebraic objects attached to topological space to study the topological properties. So you may be wondering how algebraic objects will give algebraic objects like groups, etc. How they will give topological properties. For example, you met yesterday, I think PTR was talking about homotopy, then homology. Cohomology, I will not give topologies. Cohomology is with differential geometry, but I know there is a point at which you look at cohomology and singular homology groups. they coincide means there are some relations. But these groups, these are groups, homotopy groups. Homotopy group means you look at the topology space, take a point, look at loops. Suppose I take the equivalent class of loops, that will give something called fundamental group. Usually the X is the topology space. The fundamental group is pi1 x comma x based at the point X. Then you have, once you have used loop, that is a closed curve. Suppose I use instead of a closed curve, I use something like a balloon, a sphere kind of thing. Then I will get H2, higher dimensional homotopy groups. Like that, I can go up to Hn. These are all groups. I can make these groups. And looking at the properties of these groups, I can talk about topological property of this space. I will not go into the details of that. If you have done little bit algebraic topology, you might have seen for a sphere, you compute that pi1 is set, the fundamental group is set an infinite thing. So you have a hole there. Like that, so many properties are there, finding out the holes, etc. Then the homology groups are nothing but abelian or commutative, making it as commutative, this kind of homotopy groups. Abelianization of homotopy groups. So homotopy is stronger than homology. But why people are using homology? Because this is very easy to compute. What here they do is they look at some kind of paths, curves, then the boundary, etc. They define some kind of C1 path, C1, this is chain, some paths, etc. Then they take kernel of this divided by image of this divided by kernel will give you the homology groups. Homology groups are, in fact, abelianization of or commutative version of homotopy groups. In both the things, the first one is this fundamental group only. And this homotopy group is the strongest one. It gives more topological properties than homological groups. So algebraic topology studies topological properties using some algebraic objects like groups, etc. These kind of groups you can associate to any topological space. That is what is algebraic topology. Now coming into differential topology. Differential topology is using analysis and geometry to study topological properties of objects. See, when I joined just for MPhil, at that time, maybe after 4 or 5 months, Professor Alladi Sitaram gives a beautiful set of lectures on harmonic analysis. There he was using all these kinds of objects. Some sphere he will take, circle he will take, then group action using circle, etc. Then I was totally confused whether he is talking about topology or he is talking about geometry or he is talking about algebra, etc. Then I started looking at all these things. Then that time onwards, I was trying to look at what actually these objects tell you. So in all these are different approaches to study an object, properties of an object. So as I said, in topology, you look at those properties which are invariant under deformations, certain transformations. To study that, you attach even algebraic objects like groups. They will tell you how many holes are there or what is the size of the hole, whether it is just a loop kind of hole or it is a 2-dimensional hole or 3-dimensional hole. All these things you can study by looking at the homotopy groups. Similarly, homology groups. And therefore, differential topology, what I feel about differential topology is, it is something like standing between algebraic geometry and algebraic topology. In fact, and algebraic topology. In fact, people say combinatorial topology because they look at the kind of, so I will not say algebraic topology because algebraic topology, apart from the combinatorial thing, some more advanced one. So I'll write combinatorial topology. So differential topology is something between these two. When I say between these two, approaches may be entirely different, but the properties that you are looking at in that aspect. So what algebraic geometry does is, it studies objects using zeros of multivariate polynomials. So algebraic geometry is also studying objects, whatever we were describing, all kinds of objects or phase space, whatever, all this using zeros of multivariate polynomials. For example, suppose you have circle in R2. This I can express as set of all zeros of x square plus y square minus 1 equal to 0. So this is expressed as set of all zeros of this polynomial, x square plus y square minus 1, this polynomial. Or suppose I look at in one more dimension, I can say that this circle is set of zeros of x square plus y square plus z square minus 1 equal to 0 and z equal to 0. What is this x square plus y square plus z square minus 1 equal to 0? Somebody should unmute.
Sphere of unit radius.
Pardon?
A sphere of unit radius.
Unit sphere in R3. So unit sphere in R3. What is z equal to 0? XY plane. So when XY plane intersect with this sphere, what you will get? XY plane intersecting with unit sphere, what you will get?
Circle, sir.
Unit circle. Unit circle. Therefore, I will look at these two polynomials, then look at set of all zeros of these two polynomials. It is intersection of these two things, no? The plane as well as the sphere. Therefore, I can study this circle as set of zeros of this polynomial. What is this polynomial? X square plus y square plus z square minus 1, that is P1, Px, Qx is z. Zeros of this polynomial. Like that, objects can be studied as zeros of multivariate, many variables are there, polynomials. What they do is, collection of these polynomials, they will give some ideal structure, module structure, etc. Then use all algebraic tools developed in this and get hold of the properties of objects. That is what is algebraic geometry. That way also they get so many geometric properties. In this differential geometry is something between these two. Combinatorial, already I said, take a figure, then make it into smaller ones, or use covering sets to study a figure. The covering set can be triangulation, you can do such kind of things and study that. Differential geometry, something between these two. In fact, in differential geometry, they use geometry and analysis to study topological properties. Geometry and analysis to study topological properties. Okay. The fundamental object in differential topology is called smooth manifolds. See, what we said in topology, you consider topological spaces. Then look at the properties using all these tools attached. Now we consider something called smooth manifolds. These smooth manifolds are nothing but topological spaces. Topological spaces. The rest it will not come under the as a branch of topology. No, topological spaces which are locally Euclidean. I'll tell you what it is. Which are locally Euclidean. That means you have a topological space. When I take a point, I can look at some open set here, which looks exactly like an open set in Rn if it is an n-dimensional manifold, n-dimensional. For example, suppose I look at a sphere. I take a point, look at the points nearby. That is what topology does, no? I cut that and place it here. What is that in fact? If you take a football, look at some point, cut the points nearby like this as a round, then place it, you can flatten it. What is that? It is a disk. It is an open subset in R2. It is a disk in R2. Therefore, locally I am identifying this as an open subset in R2. Therefore, this is two-dimensional manifold. Set of all points x, y, z such that x square plus y square plus z square equal to 1. Sphere is a two-dimensional object sitting in R3. Is there any doubt? Is it two-dimension or three-dimension? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Why? How you will justify that it is two-dimensional? Only one sound always I am hearing. Why? What about others? How you will justify this? Because your equation is x square plus y square plus z square equal to 1. So if I know x and y, I can compute z from this equation. So degrees of freedom is only 2. You need to know only 2 variables. You can find the third variable using this equation. Therefore, this is of dimension 2. So if I cut this piece and flatten it, it is like an open set, a disk in R2. So it is a two-dimensional object. Manifolds are such topological spaces which are locally Euclidean. That is why you put this under differential topology. So these are the basic objects in differential topology. Then what is the difference? See, I will not give completely to topology people. In fact, why smooth, etc. we will see. My aim is to define smooth manifold. In differential topology, these are the basic objects. So in this course, I wanted to bring this smooth manifolds up. If at least up to defining smooth manifold means I have initiated you into differential topology. That is what I believe. Okay. What I said is the smooth manifolds we will not give it to topologists anyway. We means differential geometry people. It is an object in differential geometry also. Then what is the difference between differential topology and differential geometry? Differential topology is studying topological properties of smooth manifolds. Topological properties of topological spaces which are locally Euclidean. That means it is looking at those kinds of properties which are invariant under deformation. That means it is looking like properties which are global in nature, not local in nature, because you are not worried about how it's sitting somewhere, etc. You are making some deformation. Suppose I deform it and make it as an ellipse, still it is same as this one as a topologist. As far as for a topologist, even if I slightly press it and make it like an ellipse, football and ellipse both are same. That famous US sports is there now with some elliptical kind of ball. For topologists, both are same. Okay, but for differential geometries, it is entirely different because differential geometry not only studies global properties, but it studies local properties also. Using curvature, metric, they will define a metric there. Connection, some such tools are there. So differential geometry, in differential geometry also smooth manifolds are the basic objects, but they study both local properties as well as global properties. Why I am saying global? See, some people say that differential geometry study local properties. Why I am saying global properties? Because cohomology, etc. is giving something like a global properties. Okay. Therefore, differential geometry studies both local as well as global properties. Topology studies global properties. So differential topology is different from differential geometry in that way. So I wanted to slightly introduce you into the differential topology. Therefore, the basic object manifolds, smooth manifolds, we need to understand. So, almost time left. Okay. So, when we say that smooth manifolds are the basic object here, and a smooth manifold is nothing but a topological space which locally looks like an open set in Euclidean space Rn if it is n-dimensional. Okay, so smooth manifolds. Why this smoothness I will explain in due course. They are topological spaces plus locally Euclidean. So if I take a point and points nearby this, it looks like if it is an n-dimensional smooth manifold, n-dimensional, then it looks like an open subset in Rn. Therefore, a point here I can identify with these two. Looks like means I have some proper identification. Yesterday, Ramendra sir was telling me about homeomorphism. No? That is the identification in topology. He was also explaining isomorphism, that is in group theory. So we need to have a proper map, which is homeomorphism. And suppose I want, see what I said is in differential topology, we use both geometry and analysis. Therefore, I can talk about analysis, continuity, rate of change, differentiation, etc. Therefore, I can bring here not only homeomorphism that yesterday has defined, one function is continuous, one onto, and inverse also continuous. Okay, so not only that, why that is the identification in topology. Okay, I will come to that. I will come to that. So not only that, I can also talk about differentiable functions. Then something called differentiable partial derivatives exist of any order, smooth functions. Then it should be 1, 1 onto, inverse also having partial derivatives of any order exist and continuous. Such functions are called smooth functions. So there is a correspondence between sets, or for a point, some points nearby closed or open set in topological language, open sets which are identified with some open set in Rn, so that for a point here a corresponding point is here, f of p, so that f of p will have coordinates because it is in Rn. I can pull it up because this map is a nice map. I said derivatives of all order exist, partial derivatives, and inverse also like that. Therefore I will get coordinates here. So I can give locally coordinates there. So that is, such kind of things are called manifolds, smooth manifolds. So I will define that in detail. So, but before going to that, see, we said both geometry and analysis, and this is identified with open subset in Rn. Therefore, you should know topology of Rn as well as differential calculus on Rn. So let us spend some time on that. Otherwise, there is no point in defining a manifold because we are always using the topology as well as the differential calculus properties of Rn. So first I will go to Rn. So any doubt regarding so far what I was trying to look at is how all these things are put in place. topology, then geometry, then under topology you have differential topology, algebraic topology, combinatorial topology, lower dimensional topology, general topology. Now you should have an idea what somebody says that I'm working in general topology, or somebody says I'm working in algebraic topology. You should have some idea. Not because what he is working only, you should have an idea what in fact these things are, or these branches are doing. They are all studying the, trying to understand the object through different tools, either algebraic tools or analysis tools, or some combinatorial, like using some sets, covering with some sets and trying to look at each part and try to understand that, or some algebraic geometry means polynomials, ideals of polynomials, zeros of polynomials, that polynomials will give some ideals, etc. There are so many algebraic tools to understand that. I was trying to convey that first, and where our differential topology stands. Is that clear to all of you? At least yes or no can be done. I will not ask any question.
Yes, sir.
Only one sound always. See, there are some MSc students now from Calcutta University, those who have studied some topology. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What do you feel about these things? Are you clear about this? I remember one guy is there, no, among some girls. What is his name?
My name is Anusha.
Your name is, no, in your batch there is only one student from Tamil Nadu or somewhere, no? So that is in junior batch maybe.
Yeah, yes.
They are all keeping mum. Anyway, I hope I have conveyed something. That only now I can do, because you are all not unmuting. I don't know whether you are all there or not. That is why I always used to tell students, you make some noise in between. I don't mind. Okay, so I wanted to look at Rn. Set of all n tuples, ordered n tuples of reals. Let me ask a question to all of you. How many of you have seen Rn, some functions defined from some R2 to R3, and continuity, differentiability, etc.? All of you have studied? Then I can go a little fast. At least you answer that. I'm not asking any mathematics question. Is there any problem with my audio?
No, you are audible. No problem.
No, you should tell me.
Second years I studied.
Second BSc, you have studied some analysis from R2, R3, etc. No? In BSc?
Yes, sir. Total differentiability.
That is what I want. Because I want to define smooth functions, no? So can I just skip it and go, or you want to have an overview of that? Okay, so I don't know why people are keeping on. At least they should tell no what I have to teach you.
Sir, we want an overview of that.
Okay, okay. So you know Rn is n tuple of real numbers, ordered n tuple. Suppose I change, see, you all might have seen 1, 2 is different from 2, 1. 1, 2 and 2, 1. These are different. Okay. Then I have an addition in this Rn. X1, x2, etc. xn, y1, y2, etc. yn added term wise, x1 plus y1, that is again a real number, x2 plus y2 again a real number, therefore I'll get an n2 of real numbers again. So there is an addition, there is a scaling. Scaling, I mean the map R cross Rn to Rn. Some lambda taking a vector x equal to x1, x2, etc., xn to each term multiplied by lambda x1, lambda x2, etc., lambda xn. It is stretching the vector or shrinking or taking it to, like lambda is negative, taking it to the orientation is changing, opposite direction, etc. So these are the operations that you usually look at in Rn. With these operations, it is a vector space. Those who have studied vector space, it is fine. Those who have not studied, don't worry about that. You have this operation addition satisfying certain properties, commutativity, additive identity 0, 0, 0, 0, origin is there, associativity, additive inverse, all these properties. Then the scaling also has some properties. Then there is a distributive property, lambda into some vector x plus y. I can distribute that. Lambda x, lambda into x plus lambda into y. So with that, it is a vector space. So I have a vector space structure on this Rn. Collection of all n-dimensional vectors. When n equal to 1, you have the real line. So here the vectors, if I take origin here, I will look at vectors like this. Okay. This is also a vector space, and this scalars lambda R cross Rn. So the scalars are coming from R. Here also scalars are coming from R. It is a vector space over R. Then n equal to 2, you have the plane. N equal to 3, you have the space, etc. These are all vector spaces. Because if I wanted to talk about one-dimensional manifold, I need an open set from here. Two-dimensional means I need an open set from R2. Three-dimensional means this. N-dimensional means I need an open set from Rn. Next thing, I can define norm of a vector. I just use only single line. Some people used to put 2 lines. Doesn't matter what you are writing. If you are clear, then it is fine. Okay. Of course, there are some standard notations also. I follow this one. This is nothing but square root of x1 square plus x2 square plus etc. xn square, called norm. Length of the vector, positive square root only you are taking. So if I have 2 points x and y, distance between x comma y, I can look at the vector x minus y and its length. So in R2, suppose I have 2 vectors, v1 and v2. I look at this vector and find its length. That is nothing but square root of, suppose v1 is given by x1 s2, this is y1 by 2, then x1 minus y1 square plus x2 minus y2 square, Euclidean metric. Same way here also I have this metric. Length of the vector x minus y I can define because additive inverse I will take. Minus y is the additive inverse of y. Okay, so I have this structure of vector space structure with a norm. Then we call this as a Euclidean space. Distance can be defined in this way. Once distance is there, I can talk about topology. See, topology, what I said is looking at the closeness. Of course, when you talk about general topology, you are slightly loose in that closeness notion. What they look at there is closeness in a loose sense, such that they wanted to answer what are the functions or which are the functions are continuous. Are you getting what I am saying? Topology in general look at closeness of points. But when I am talking about the topic or the level, that general topology, there people are looking at closeness in a loose manner. Their interest is there is what are the functions which are going to be continuous. Continuity depends upon that closeness of points. In other words, that metric. I'll explain that. In due course, you can see that. Therefore, now I have this Euclidean space, Rn. When I say Euclidean space, it is not just a set, it has got some structure also now, vector space, and it has got a distance notion. Norm is there. Once distance notion is there, see, somebody will ask you, are you coming or who are all staying near to you? You will not say somebody in Delhi, you will not say he is staying near to you when I am asking from here. Depends upon the context. Somebody is in Delhi, suppose we are all in India and if you are asking somebody from Delhi may not be a neighbor to you, you will not say. So there you have a distance notion. You consider certain people as your neighbors provided you know how far they are from you. Okay, so that distance notion now I have with this Rn. So suppose I take a vector x in Rn. I can talk about those points which are close to x at a distance r. I will take a real number r greater than 0. So I'll define this Brx called ball as collection of all the vectors y in Rn such that the distance of x minus y less than r. So in Rn, if I take a point, I look at all those points which are at a distance r from the, see why I am drawing this kind of thing or ball kind of thing, because when you write down this x minus y, x1, always I write x equal to x1 is to etc xn, y equal to y1 etc yn. So the difference will be x1 minus y1 comma etc xn minus yn. Its norm will be square root of x1 minus y1 square. Norm of x is x1 square, x2 square plus etc xn square under square root plus etc plus xn minus yn square. So this must be less than r. Suppose it is, I am writing equal to r, and if I square it, what I will get is the square root will go here. I will get r square. What is this? Set of all x and y such that x1 minus y1 the whole square plus etc xn minus yn the whole square equal to r square. What is this? Set of all such points. It will give you a set of all points y1 etc yn. Suppose this is x1 x2 etc xn. Set of all points y1 etc yn such that x1 minus y1 square plus etc xn minus, suppose you are in 2 dimension, then what you will get is x1 minus y1 square plus x2 minus y2 square. What is this? Equal to r square. What is this?
Circle with center.
Center x1 y1. x1 is 2. Because I am fixing x1 is 2, then I am finding out all y1 y2 at a distance r from this. Suppose I write here, this will be an n-dimensional object. All vectors at a distance r from x1, x2, etc. xn. That is why I am putting like this. It is an, suppose I take all points inside also, this will be a disk. Here it will like get a solid object, which is an open ball. Why I am not open ball, it is closed. Suppose I am taking only less than means boundary will not be there. This boundary will not be there. So I am getting, here I am taking less than r. Okay. Therefore, what I am getting is an open ball. So it is called an open ball. And these are the initial open sets or basic open sets or whatever you call in Rn. So what you have to do is you go to Rn, take a point, look at all points at some small distance or some distance, positive distance, whether small or big doesn't matter. Then you will get an open ball centered at the given point. That is an open set here. We define initial open sets as that in Rn. But suppose I have a subset U in Rn, some subset in Rn. When you call this U as open, I will call this U as an open subset of Rn if this U as an open subset of Rn, if for any point x, there exists for every x in U, there exists some positive number R such that a ball centered at x of radius R is completely contained in U. I should be able to produce a ball centered at x sitting inside U. Then U is said to be open. So first I have defined something called open ball, which is a basic thing or initial stage of open set. Then I am calling some set is subset in Rn is open if for every point x I can produce an open ball centered at that point completely sitting inside U. Why I am stressing completely inside? Because I want to move around. See, I am looking at closeness in topology now. So I want to move around this x. Still, I want to be in U itself. I should not go out of U. So we need to have open balls centered at a point completely sitting inside U. Then U is said to be open set. U is open set. Okay. Such subsets are called open subsets. So open subsets in Rn is clear now. So what about R? What will be the open ball corresponding here? Suppose I take a point x0. All y such that y minus x0, norm of that less than, suppose I am taking some R positive. What is the norm here? Modulus. So what is this then? Minus R less than y minus x0 less than R. Or x0 minus R less than y less than x0 plus R. What is this? This is the interval x0 minus R to x0 plus R without this endpoint. Such intervals are called open intervals. So here the basic open sets are open intervals. So if I take any set here, A, any subset, that subset is open means for any point x in A, I should have some open interval x minus epsilon, x plus epsilon completely contained in E. If you are able to produce at least one open interval containing this x completely contained in A, for all x in A, then A is open. Suppose you are in R2. Since you are not telling anything, I don't know, I have to explain this much. This you may be familiar with all these things. If it is so, I can go little fast, so that at least manifolds and tangent vectors also, if I can introduce, it will be fine. Anyway, let us see. So suppose I am in R2. Already we said if I take a point x0, y0, or I will just denote by x0, some point for x0, y0. So open ball will be all points x, y such that distance from this is at a distance r. So I will get an open disk here. They are the open sets in R2. Basic open sets or the initial open sets. So some subsets, if you given here, when you say that this subset in R2 is open, for any point here, if I can produce a small disk completely contained in U, then we say that U is open. So open sets are clear. Or what I will say that a set is open provided wherever in that set you are standing, you should be able to move around without leaving the set. Suppose I have the closed interval 1, 2. So my argument was wherever you stand, you should be able to move around. Suppose you are standing at the point 1. Are you able to move around? Move around in real line means what? I can go some distance forward and some distance backward. That is the only movement in R, real line. But here I can go only to the right of 1, not to the left of 1. Therefore, this set is not open. Suppose I take in this set, suppose I take this what is called this strip, including this. So x equal to 1 to 2. So 1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 2. This is not open because I can stand here, still I will be in the set. some point, say, 1 comma minus 3 or something, some point here. I cannot move around. Move around in R2 means what? Literally, I can move around in R2. There are so many directions in R2. That creates problem, no? When you take limit, derivative, etc. So in this case, only two directions. In this case, so many. So you will go out of the given strip. Therefore, it is not open. But if I take an open interval, say 1 comma 3, then whatever point you give in this, there is lot of space to move around. However close to 1, I have still infinitely many real numbers. You know, rationals are dense in that, rationals are dense in that. Therefore, so many are there. Okay, whatever point I choose here, x0, I'll take my radius as my epsilon name or r interval as r as 1 minus this x0 minus 1, x0 minus 1 by some number 3 or 4 or 1. Then it will be x0 minus 1 is the distance between that. For safer side, I will divide that with 3 or 4, etc., so that I can go back and forth in that interval without leaving this interval 1, 3. Here, this is the situation. So now open set means in Rn, any dimension means in that set at any point you can walk around. Okay. That is in general open subset. Now in Rn, what we said is, I will make some note. Suppose I take n intervals, say A1 open intervals, A1, B1, A2, B2, etc., An, Bn. Suppose I take cross product of all these things. For example, in R2, suppose I take two open intervals. One open interval is this, A1, B1. Another open interval is this, C1, D1. Suppose I take these two open intervals. If I take cross product, what I will get?
Square.
Square or rectangle depends upon if they are of not of same length, I will get a rectangle. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
What about others?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
2, 3.
Yes, sir.
Now my question is
Yes,
it open in R2? I have taken two intervals in R. What are those intervals? A1, B1, A2, B2. So whatever A1, B1 given, I can move around at all these points. Move around in here means I can go backward and forth and back. Okay. What about this? Is it open? I have taken cross product of these two. Then you said it is a rectangle. Is it open?
Yes, sir.
Why? Is this line included in your rectangle?
No.
Because this point is not cross product means what? Cross product means this line segment I am placing at each point. So I have this interval A1, B1, this A2, C1, D1 I am placing at each point. That is cross product. So I am not placing at this A1 and B1. So this side is not there, this side is not there. Similarly, if I look at from here, I am placing this intervals at this line, except these 2 points. So this line is not there, this line is not there. So it is an open rectangle, it is an open set then. Similarly, I can take n intervals, take cross product, I will get an open set, n rectangle in Rn. Okay. Now, see, we were looking at subsets of Rn then we were seeing whether it is open or not. Then some subset W in Rn is said to be closed if its complement is open. I don't know, when topology introduced, this is discussed in detail, then I can skip it. Topology of Rn. Only 2-3 days now, you are not remembering whether this is discussed or not.
No.
No. I think PTR is telling that I want more students. See, Jayantan sir is there still. Both of them are there. So you should.
Helplessly there.
Pardon?
Helplessly there, I'm telling.
Okay. So W is said to be closed if its complement is open. Usually you will write Rn. That means in the complement for any point you can move around. In W you may not be able to do that. Such sets are called closed sets. So we are looking at subsets of Rn. We said there are open sets, there are closed sets. Is there any other set? That means sets which are not open and closed. Or neither open nor closed.
Yes, sir.
For example, in real line, suppose I take this interval, left open, right closed. Then for this point, I cannot move around. I cannot go, only I can travel this side. If I travel this side, I will be out of this set. Therefore, this is closed. This is not open. Therefore, this is not open. What about its complement? Complement is this portion as well as this portion, including this point. Therefore, here also, I cannot go to the left of move around at this point. Therefore, complement is not open. Therefore, this set is neither open nor closed. Similarly, if I take some rectangle with one side included, this side is included, then it is not neither open nor closed. So there are sets in Rn, therefore I can produce it in Rn also because already I have given a method. Okay, so there are sets which are neither open nor closed in Rn. And if you look at the entire Rn and the empty set, are they open? My point is, in loose language, my point is something is open means if there is a point inside that, for every point where I stand in that set, I should be able to move around. In Rn, for any point there, I can move around because the whole Rn is with you. What about empty set? We consider this also open with the argument that if there are points, I need to move around without going out of that set. But empty set has no point. So we consider this also as open set. Okay. Then if I have already introduced what is meant by a subset open. What about if I take arbitrary union of open sets? Doesn't matter. Arbitrary union means each set is there. So wherever I stand, I can move around. So this is also open. What about arbitrary intersection?
Not open.
Arbitrary intersection need not be because we don't know where it lands up at after intersection. There may be a single point. Single point means you can move around. No? Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
What about singleton set? X in Rn. What about its complement? Suppose I have R, real line. Suppose I take singleton 1. Is it open? Wherever I stand, I should be able to move around, move one, forth and back.
Singleton set is closed.
So in that sense, I will not consider it as open sets. But if I go for such things also saying that there are only that point I can move around, making all singletons also open, there also you will get a topology. But here I don't want to look at such sets as open sets. Here whatever I am defining is a set in which for each point I should be able to move around. Okay. This also can be made into a topological space by taking all singletons, you can make it into open sets. That is where the practical knowledge and as well as the other thing. See, such topology is in fact not going to give you much information about the space. Okay, anyway, I will not go into that. Our concentration is on Rn. Here we define it in this way. Okay, so arbitrary union is there, but arbitrary intersection need not be. So finite intersection, I'll take finite intersection. I'll not go into these details of open sets, again open. Open. So I have all the properties. So I have made it into a topological space. Okay. Now I look at a subset of this. So the topology on Rn, what we were discussing, is clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
I am using the metric, in fact, because I am defining the open balls there. That are the basic things I am using, initial open sets. Okay, using that I have defined open sets in Rn. Now suppose in Rn I take a subset X. Rn with this topology, whatever you have defined. Okay. Now suppose I have a subset V of X. We say that V is open in X or relatively open if V equal to some U intersection X where U subset of R is open in Rn. So in Rn, I have this X. I've taken some subset V here. This V is open. This V is open in Rn. I know how to say that. V is open in Rn means for every point here, there is an open ball using the metric here, sitting completely inside. Then V will be open in Rn. But what I wanted to look at is where V is open in X. That means, see, in the whole Rn, you are taking a subset. That subset, the closeness of points may be different. Depends upon what, suppose the subset I define is movement of a particle. So this is my subset X. So suppose I take a point here, what are the points close to that? I cannot say the disk because these points are not in your set X. So when I want to study phase space for some phenomena, I need to look at some subset of Rn only. The entire Rn may not be my frame of reference or my phase space or state space, configuration space. I may have only this set in Rn. Then I wanted to look at the topology there. That means some subset here. I'll take some subset here. This one. Okay, this one. Is it open there or not? I wanted to find out. There I cannot say that I have to move around. If I move around means I will go out of this set. So here we will say that this set is open provided this set V can be written as some U intersection X where U is an open subset in Rn. So U intersection X will give you this. If I take an open disk and intersect with this curve, I'll get this segment, this arc without this endpoint. These arcs are then open there. They are called relatively open sets with respect to this subset. Another example I can give, suppose you have the unit circle. Always I am going to circles and spheres, but anyway, suppose I take a point, say 1, 0. Can you give an open set in R2 containing 1, 0? Of course, a disk or R2 itself. But suppose this circle I denote by S1. As a point in S1, can you give an open set containing this point 1, 0? What I have to do is take an open set containing this point 1, 0 in R2, intersect with S1. Open set containing 1, 0 is disk, I said. So take a disk, intersect with S1. What I will get is this arc. So open arcs are open sets for this S1. That is the way I define relative topology or subspace topology. Topology means for me nearby points. So what are the points nearby to 1, 0 in this? Close to 1, 0. Closeness I am telling. Closeness means I cannot move away from this S1. Therefore, close points are these points. Okay, so I'll get open arcs there as open sets in S1. So that is the way we look at relative topology and relative subspace topology. Okay, for a subset, I give open subset in this way. So we have defined topology on Rn, of course, using the Euclidean metric only. Then whenever I have X subset of Rn, when this is some subset here are open, or when this is, if I collect all such open sets along with this X, that collection will satisfy all the properties. So this will be a topological space by itself. That is called subspace topology of Rn. Okay, I think it is 8:30 is over. So I'll stop here. Next, I wanted to look at continuous functions. Suppose I have in continuous functions already discussed in detail. Open inverse image of open sets are open, and maybe they might have given equivalence with the epsilon delta definition also. I will quickly go through that tomorrow. Suppose I have some subset A in or X in Rn and some function f from X to Rm, m-dimensional. F is said to be continuous, provided take any open subset U in Rn, then F inverse U must be open in this X. X is a subset, so you have to look at subspace topology. That means F inverse you should be able to write some V intersection X where V open in Rn. Open subset of Rn. Such subsets are, see this X some V F inverse U is open means this will be intersection of an open subset in Rn with X. That is what the subspace topology we have defined. So if F inverse U is open in X, for all U open in Rm, we say that F is continuous. Epsilon delta definition also this same one. Because what we are looking at here, open set means for a point, so continuity at a point we are defining means, open set means you are looking points nearby that. So what we are saying, if you look at Fx and points nearby that, those points should come from points close to X. That is the delta neighborhood of X going to epsilon, some epsilon neighborhood of Fx. So continuity in the epsilon delta definition is also the same thing only. We might have already discussed it. I am not going to discuss that. For me, continuous means take any open subset here. Its inverse image is also open in this set. Okay. Then F is said to be continuous. And yesterday also we have seen, suppose I have two such sets here, F from X to Y is said to be homeomorphism, two topological spaces, subspaces of Rn. Now I am worried about Rn and its subspaces because I wanted to look at locally Euclidean. That means in Rn some subsets open I wanted to take. So f from x to y is a homeomorphism. If f is continuous, 1, 1, on 2, I'll stop with this definition. And f inverse also continuous. Such maps are called homeomorphisms. Yesterday also you have heard this. Yesterday who told about this?
Ramendran sir.
Then why we are saying that if homeomorphism is there, two topological spaces are having same property, or you can see them as equivalent. Why we are saying like that? Homeomorphism decides that, like isomorphism decides in groups. Because if I take any open subset of X open, then U open in X, if and only if f of U open in Y. F is a homeomorphism. Is this statement correct? F inverse is continuous. So if f of U is open, f inverse of f of U is, that is U, is open. Similarly, f is continuous. F is continuous means if some subset is open here, its inverse image is open. Similarly, so f from x to y continuous, f inverse from y to x is also continuous. So if I take U here, its inverse image, f inverse U, that means inverse of f inverse, that means f of U is open in Y. Are you getting what I'm saying? Since both these functions are continuous, something open here under the map f will be open here, something open here, some U open here, f inverse of inverse of f inverse of U, that is U open here. Okay. Therefore, what I am saying is that if there is a homeomorphism, U is open, Fu is open. Fu is open, U, that means the closeness you are identifying. Something closeness for a point here. If I use this map and look at its image f of x here, there also I have the closeness with the points here corresponding y close to x, f of y will be, small y will be close to f of x. That closeness will be preserved. Similarly, here some points are close. When I use this f inverse map, come here, there also they will be close. Closeness not as a set, close means they are nearby. Therefore, the topological properties are intact. That is why homeomorphism, once you have an homeomorphism from a topological space x to y, both are having same topological properties. Yesterday also he discussed, luckily I was there at that time, I had to go after that, so I was there. He discussed one bijection which is not a homeomorphism. Suppose you take a closed left closed right open interval to S1 unit circle, any t here going to cos 2 pi t, sin 2 pi t. This is continuous. T going to cos and sin, this is continuous. This is 1, 1, on 2, because I am not having any periodicity, 1, 1, on 2, etc. But if I take this 0 to close, 0 to open 1/4 and map under this, where what will be in this circle, what will be the portion? Cos 2 pi of 0, that is cos 0, that is 1. So I am starting from 1, 0. This point is included, and I am coming up to this only. So this is an arc with one endpoint is included. Therefore, this is not open. So an open set here, this 0, 1, close to 0, open 1/4. This subset is an open subset of this, because this I can write as, suppose I call this as I prime intersection with, this will be I prime intersection with, can you tell me what it is? I wanted to show that 014 is open in 01. I prime intersection with some open set in R, so that I should get this. Yes? This side, if I make 1 by 4, what will be this side? You take anything here, say -1, will it work? What will be I prime, this intersection -1 by 4, what will be this?
Oh, closed 0, open 1 there.
Open 1 by 4. So this set I have written as, this is open in R because it is an open interval. An open interval intersection with the given set I prime, or if you want I can write it as X. So X intersection V, where V is open in R. Therefore this is open here, but its image is having, here open sets are open arc, already we have discussed. Therefore here this set is not open. Therefore this is not a homeomorphism. Okay, I'll stop here. If any doubts, you are not even opening your mouth, then what doubt you will ask? It's too bad. I feel I'm talking to the walls. Even no reply for that also. Okay, I'll stop. Shall I stop now?
I think
so. Tomorrow we will discuss about. So now topological part is almost over. Tomorrow I will discuss about calculus part. Then I will introduce smooth manifolds.